thing. We're not. What is wrong? What do you?
Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. I have a special guest today that we've been wanting to do for a while. We finally got to do it today. Jen, introduce yourself.
Hi guys, I'm Jen. I am Holly's sister. I live in Phoenix, Arizona, but I'm in Nashville visiting her all the time. And today we're gonna talk running from my perspective, which is 180 different from Holly's perspective.
I thought it'd be really good for you guys to see, kind of watch someone talk through why they love and hate running whenever they dabble in it. She lives in somewhere, obviously Arizona is very hot during half of the year, and so she kind of is a fair weather runner, which is super fair there. So when she gets back into it every time, obviously it can be really difficult. So I thought if she could just ask me some questions that probably you guys have as well, I can answer them to the best of my abilities. So we're just gonna do like a little Q&A today.
I'm gonna give you guys a little background on my running status. Basically, as Holly said, it gets really hot in Arizona, but also I'm just not the most dedicated runner. So I would say about 3 to 4 months out of the year, I get really into running. And by that, I mean I run 2 to 5 times a week, depending. And it's usually around 5 miles. That's about like my sweet spot. Sometimes I'll go more if I'm feeling it, but it's usually between like 3 and 5 in most of my runs. And that will end after, like I said, about 4 months of doing that, if that, and then I don't run the rest of the year at all. So that's me. So when I do start back every year, I am a true beginner every time.
Yes, and I really love her perspective too, because she has gotten herself to the point of feeling like a runner, as she said, like basically by the end of those few months. She's felt what it's like to get the endurance, etc. I know some of you guys have sort of dabbled in feeling that. Some of you guys have not felt it at all. So hopefully today we can just nail down what are some tactical things you guys can go do starting today. Okay, we're jumping right into question 1. Hit me.
Okay, my first question is, what are your top tips to not feel so discouraged when we start? Because obviously we are beginners when we begin, but I feel like I just feel so discouraged and I feel like I suck so bad at running. What are your top tips to avoid those feelings so that I can stick with it a little bit more? I know that I am a beginner, but I don't want to feel so discouraged on those first couple of runs. What are your tips?
Great question. By the way, we did not plan these questions, so she's throwing them at me for the first time. I just want you guys to know that.
Oh yeah, I came up with these all on my own. She hasn't heard these. These are genuine.
And I'm going to answer to you guys, but I'm obviously answering her. So first thing that jumps out at me is, if we are analyzing something that we're new at, we already feel unstable, adding the analysis part and each individual day looking at if we did well on that or poorly is only going to overwhelm us more. So we're going to feel that pressure. And it's not meant to be that quick of progress. I actually think a big reason people love running so much and get so obsessed is that they're so proud of having gotten through this first period. That's when a lot of people quit, because like she said, it's like you don't feel good at what you're doing. It's uncomfortable over and over again, and you don't feel like there's any promise. I also compare this to like starting a new job. You've done the interview process, you said all these things that you're gonna be able to do, you probably lied about a lot of it, and now you're supposed to follow through. And adding to that is just all the eyes on you. In this sport of running, and you're going to do that for your health and fitness, pretend there are no eyes on you. It's just yourself and you're working towards it. I would say the biggest thing is look at your progress in larger chunks of time, not going up and down with each day, but going, what did I do in 2 weeks? What did I do in 6 weeks? Whatever. And then you can see that progress and feel good about that without all the negative and like harping on the negative feelings. Does that help you?
Yeah, I think that's a good analogy with starting a new job. To that same point, you don't look at every day at your new job like, was I good today? Did I do good today? You just look at it more like the beginning is going to be rocky, and then we'll get our footing under us. And I feel like that is so true, because I can speak from this past spring when I got into running. I would call Holly and I was so amazed by how some days would feel so easy, and other days I literally thought I was gonna die. Like, it was so hard, and it would just be one day apart. But that's actually a good tip, because now that I look back at it, after 2 weeks I had ran 8 times, and that's what I was proud of. I didn't even remember that one day felt so bad, but during it I was like so down. So that's good. That helps to just not look at it one run at a time. Just wait till you have like a bunch and be proud of that progress.
Yeah. And the final thing I'll say is just that like it's badass enough to follow through on anything for 2 weeks in a row. Following through on something that genuinely was hard every day of those 2 weeks that I can promise you you're already better at the end of the 2 weeks, that's super impressive because mentally, God knows what that's doing for the rest of your life. But it is so hard with running, so that's what you should be proud of.
And to that note, would you advise, like, you might have already said this, but would you advise staying off Strava and off, like, not,
yes.
like, do you like metrics earlier on, or you say maybe just don't deal with those too much and just get your runs done?
It depends on the person. If they're inspired by that type of thing, I would say even if you feel inspired by that type of thing and it's why you took up running in the first place, clear the noise in the beginning. You don't want to know what you're incapable of in the beginning. You really want to stay focused on what you're feeling, what you're going through. You'll know yourself better as a runner. There are certain things you're going to draw your own conclusions that might not even be true. So I really would delete Strava for a bit. Stay off any Instagram running profiles. That's a super good point. Okay, what else do you have for me?
Okay, my second question is, what form-wise would you say is the most common thing you see among beginner runners that's making it harder for us? What are we doing form-wise that makes it harder for ourselves?
It's going to be hard to like visualize this potentially, but pushing off is this thing we're taught when we're like doing the mile run when we're young. Like push off the ground, cover as much ground as you can. Even if we think we're going slow, we are running like we're sprinting. That is the biggest thing I would say, because number one, for a lot of people starting to run, oftentimes they're doing it as like a weight loss program, which means they are not in that fitness state yet. They don't have that fitness to their body. So the lower leg is not muscular for a lot of people. It's not ready to go for that sort of pushing off and like large extension over and over again. Even if you are fit, that form requires a lot of your body. So if you're trying to do it for longer and longer, you're just not meant to run that way. So I would say biggest thing is too big of a step, reaching out, and then really overusing your calves and Achilles and ankles even to push off the ground. Does that make sense?
Yes, I get what you're saying. And she's helped me with this in the past. I forgot about it till just now. But yeah, picking your feet up right underneath of you as opposed to trying to propel yourself forward made a really big difference.
And you guys know that's like the number one thing I talk to you about, but it is the difference between using all your energy up in about 3 minutes and being able to watch yourself run for 10 straight minutes, which for a lot of us is like the first huge accomplishment we experience. All right, question number 3.
Okay, my next question is, sometimes I feel like as a beginner, I don't need to like do the crazy foam rolling and stuff that other people do. Like I'm not that serious. But is that actually more important for us beginners or just as important, even though I'm not like an Olympian? Because sometimes I just feel like, oh, I don't need the lacrosse ball. Like I'm just running 3 miles and I'm totally beginner at this. But is it actually just as important for us as it is for you who's running ultras?
That is a really good one, honestly. I did not see that coming. I have like 2 answers I want to give. Number one, if you were to not foam roll and get away with it for like 2 months, get pretty good at running, and then really be in love with it and want to sign up for a race, you will deal with something you wouldn't have had to deal with. Like I'm saying, if you don't foam roll, you will get to a point of, if I had taken care of myself, I wouldn't be dealing with this problem at all. I like to start anybody out on anything doing something correctly. Jen's a lawyer, and I imagine if she had like half-assed certain parts of her job initially and got used to doing it that way, she would have kicked herself. Maybe it's the same thing. So I like just putting that in place. I would say foam rolling is not a matter of like serious versus not. It's really about getting your body to the best state it can be in for each of your workouts. You want to have the most you can to work with. There are a lot of people that in the beginning are like, I'm not running today because my body hurts, but your body wouldn't hurt as bad if you were foam rolling. Okay. So it's like this chicken and egg thing. The other thing I'll say is you just, however much you take care of your body and pay attention to it, the more you value that activity too, because it's an investment and you notice you're putting the time in.
Now, also as a follow-up, I said foam rolling, which I think you picked up on as sort of just like an all-encompassing term, but by that, do you mean warming up properly? Like, do you know what I mean? I just said foam rolling, but I don't think that's all we're talking about. Yeah. Do you also mean stretching and like all of it?
Yeah, I think like all of it together, because I know that if you don't work out and you're starting a workout program, you're like, I can't believe it's not enough that I'm going to go do the workout. Now I have to do the before, after, all that stuff. Yeah, I'm talking about everything. It all goes back to undoing what you just did to your body. So we build it up, we get all the good stuff done to the body, but we have to also maintain and bring it back down to 0 to then build on that even stronger the next day. We really can't do that when we shorten everything and leave it as it is. Okay, final question, and full disclosure, we've tried to film this last question 4 times. We keep mostly me, I'm cracking up for some reason.
And she still hasn't heard the question. So
yeah. So we're gonna get through this together.
No, we can do it.
Yeah, okay, what is it?
Sorry, we're not serious that often, so for us to have to...
It's so true.
But this is real stuff. Okay,
Yeah.
Here's my final question. I firmly believe that there's a lot of runners out there like me who do it sporadically, aren't training for any race, aren't running super long distances. If someone in that position is running for weight loss, will it work? I know everyone's fitness levels and nutrition is different, but I'm just asking you generally, will that work? Will I lose weight running like
Just to run.
this? Yeah.
Yeah.
And let's call it in the 4 months that I'm doing it.
Yeah, okay, that's a really good question. Basically, you're saying, like, can you get that result without having, like, a goal? Or, like, a trajectory towards something? Yeah.
Especially if I'm not tracking too much stuff.
Yeah.
Will just running help me lose weight?
I always come back to, and I've tried so many fitness classes, things like that. Like, I think a lot of us have. And it's like, do you have to do something the way everyone does it to get that result or whatever? Ultimately, it's calories in versus calories out. I have found that running is so difficult because it's so difficult. It is one of those things that is just harder than a lot of other activities. It's why so many people do not even try to do it, because as we're talking about in this video, the beginning sucks. But the people who get over that hump really see the results. I would say, yes, you'll absolutely lose weight. What you're doing outside of the running really matters. And I did a video on this a few months ago, but as far as like matching your calorie needs to your running, as you get into more activity, you're gonna be hungrier. There is a fine line there with almost overdoing it, or if you don't plan your day well. Jen struggles with this sometimes, I know, with like work. If you are so busy all day that you don't eat, and then you wanna eat, you're starving, you know, whatever you have in front of you, and then still need to get your workout in, you might at that point like kind of just match what you did in the workout. You're not going to actually come to a deficit and lose. It gets your body moving and burning in a way that it wasn't before. There's no downside. Like, yes, you will lose weight. It helps. You'll also see to start eating and doing things in the rest of your life in a way that helps make the running easier, which also helps you lose weight. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes sense. Now, I'm going to ask you one last follow-up question. Is everyone's barking about protein? Is it that important?
It's a great question. I have gone through this myself several times. I'm like, I don't know if it's per person that actually matters. Look, protein helps increase and, you know, maintain the amount of muscle that you have. That's for sure. So I think, again, there's no downside. I do think it makes you feel more full. So when you prioritize protein, I think it helps you not lean so heavily on like accessory foods that actually are not providing any nutritional value. As far as daily, like how you feel, I don't know. Like, I actually don't know if like that is the thing for every body type that's going to make or break. But it is probably important to prioritize at some point, but start with one thing at a time, really.
Cool.
Yeah. Guys, this was great. This was so fun. We've never done a video like this before.
That was fun. Those were honest questions. She hadn't heard those before.
Yeah.
I hadn't heard answers before.
Yeah.
Like, that was good.
And it's good to also, probably for you guys, hear somebody ask from a different angle. Like when I make videos, I'm like asking my own questions to give you guys my own answers, you know? So this was hopefully helpful for you guys. Let me know if you want us to do more. We visit each other all the time. I'm gonna let Jen tell you guys where you can find her if you want anything else related to running or not.
Not much related to running, but if you guys want to follow me, we'll put my TikTok and my YouTube channel below. I make a lot of like vlogs, legal related content. If you or anyone you know is interested in law school or that profession, absolutely follow me. I try to give a good insight into what those processes are actually like. So we'll link that below. And thanks for having me on your channel.
You're so welcome. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. Don't forget to subscribe. If you are in need of a run training plan, kind of all encompassing, I just released those a couple weeks ago. You'll see those linked below, and we will see you guys soon. Bye.